What's good? What's good, Souls of Thought family? It's your boy Norris, and we back for another reaction video. If you made it this far, make sure you hit that like, that share, and then make sure you drop a comment. We're here for all open discussions, but we're here again with another reaction to Anton Daniels After Hours show. We're gonna watch another black female crash out. If you watch the show, you know that this person is Jess. So just let me know. But we're gonna start and kick off this video. So let's get it.
Just like a white woman. So like I was saying, what we need to do is come together and stop hurting each other by denying what has been the issue for us in this country.
You're the issue.
Now, if you are able to, if you hate racism and you know it's not right, there should be no tolerance of it. There should be no assimilation to it. It shouldn't be no, let's just forget about it, right? And what's crazy to me is, y'all saying that I'm racist.
Guys, Brandon got to go next. Brandon go next.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Well, I just think when it all boils down to it, I think the primary problem is that we don't have a community. We have a bunch of individuals that share similar skin tones. I think if you want to fix the fundamental problems, like I don't think it's race. If anything, I think in my experience, people who have resources and the white people I've met, all they want to do is help and provide opportunity if they like you and they want to see you succeed and be great. I think when it boils down, it's the family unit, because number one, we got to fix reading scores. Previously I used to work at a nonprofit organization in my county. Right now, only 52% of African American students are reading at or above a third grade level. That's a problem. And off of that statistic, they're currently building more prisons.
It's the white man's fault.
That's what I said.
They
use the reading scores to build prisons.
And think about it from this perspective. Why are the reading scores so low? Well, everyone wants to blame the educational system. But when I was a kid, the reason why I was able to read so well is because my mom sat there and she read books to me as a kid. She was my dad. You know what I'm saying? My mom actually stayed at home for the first 4 or 5 years while my dad was the one that was putting all the work in. So the problem really boils down to it is there is no community because we don't have families. We're just a bunch of people that share the similar skin tone. So I think that the fundamental problem is really not about race.
Mm-hmm. It's class.
It's always
money.
About race.
It's capitalism.
Janae was going. Janae gotta go. Janae,
it was literally built on race. You can't say that it's not about everything. Even
wait, Jazz.
Oh, my bad. Y'all know I get passionate.
I think it's my.
Y'all know I'm long-winded. Y'all know I just be talking.
Take a breath, babe. Take a breath. Take a breath.
Okay. Oh shit. Oh shit. Now Janae going next. Janae.
I don't know why this hoe keep talking to me.
Janae going next. No name calling. Go ahead, Janae. Damn, Janae, you need a better mic. Go ahead, Janae.
I'm so sorry. Next time I will. I promise. This was the last minute thing, but I will say this. Look, like he said, when he's talking about like the reading levels, right? All of that definitely matters. It is classism, and I think a part of it does. Racism plays a role in classism as well. And I think that when I hear you, Abel, when you say it's the white man's fault, but I think that like you just said, Brandon, like when you say I was able to learn how to read. When you said I learned how to read because my parents were home, my mother, was reading to me regularly. My mom was able to stay home for the first 4 years of life. My dad, worked and paid the bills. I think that's a privilege to do because nowadays people aren't even allowed to be in that space. Women are barely staying home because women are working. Bills got to be paid. Food got to be put on the table. We don't have a lot of situations where men are sole providers in the Black community. So a lot of times women aren't in the positions to go to work, come home, cook, do homework, and then I gotta read to you at night. A lot of times aren't granted that space to be able to do that. So I think that causes a disconnect as well. But of course, I wish that it gave us the opportunity, that we had the opportunity to do that. But as Jazz was saying, like when we talk about things that you can do to make it better, I think that a big thing that we have to do as a whole is to support each other differently. I think that we have such high expectations and saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, and have this and have that, as opposed to figuring out what works for us, living within our means, so that way we can have resources and benefit from these things and start putting things in place so that we can start to level up. For me, I'm from DC, and everybody knows DC is like Black Mecca. So I grew up with Black people of all different spaces, all different stages of life, from the poorest of the poorest and the richest of the richest when it comes to Black wealth in America. That's where I grew up. So I've seen it all. But what I'm saying to you is a lot of times the disconnect comes from the fact that we just don't have the opportunity to do that. Everybody does it. So it's from when we talk about a community standpoint, we're talking about the majority and not just the some pieces or some people who have opportunity to do that. I think that that's great. I love that your mother's educating you. I think that, for me, I had siblings and my sister taught me how to read, right? But I feel like when it comes to our educational system, even now, just the funding that's being funneled from the education system, that's a problem.
Okay, but here's a problem.
Hold on.
Wait,
We can't help our kids learn.
Apologize. It looks like the young lady Janae is having a lot of feedback with her microphone, so I apologize for that.
Read when they don't even pay teachers well enough.
It's not the teacher's job.
And then also,
who teaches someone to read? A teacher.
But see, this is the argument.
But you gotta do your I used to be a teacher, and respectfully, some of those parents were not working. Some of those parents were using school as daycare, and they went home and they did nothing. Not all of these parents are going to work.
So as you see there, they're starting to talk about just the education system. When Jess comes on Anton's show, she loves to start talking about the difference between white and Black and racism and all those things that most African Americans talk about when they want to blame the man. With that being said, what Janae said is actually how I grew up. I grew up where my mom actually stopped working every time one of my siblings were born. She stopped working. She will watch us until we were able to go to school or pre-K, and then she'll go back into finding a little job, something she can do on the side. But my dad was pretty much holding us down financially. With that being said, comparing those times to now, would that be possible now? It could be, depending if you want to live in a certain area of things, if you want to live within your means and not keep up with the Joneses. With that being said, Molly made a very good point too, because I said this a while ago. The education system has now just become a daycare. Because Janae thinks that teachers are the ones who're supposed to solely teach the kids. I don't know if you guys been in a classroom lately. With that being said, one teacher, probably a teacher's aide, trying to teach 15 to 20 students, trying to catch everybody who might have a problem comprehending. It's very difficult. Also, we know our children have shorter attention spans compared to when we were in school. We have to remember that when we were in school, there were no social media. There was very little electronics. Even when it came to video games, you played them, but it wasn't something that you had to do. We were still playing outside. So when you compare the times, the kids are learning differently. With that being said, I also feel like we start to make an excuse for parents. And Molly's going to talk about this in a second, that it doesn't take much to read to your child 20 minutes a night, read a book to them, help them read a page or two. There's a lot as parents that you can do to assist your children. For instance, my family, even when we were in the hood, man, we had to take an hour and plus bus ride to a magnet school program that my mom and dad got us into. So, we went to a magnet program all the way from pretty much first grade through the 8th. We didn't really get back into public schools until high school and on up, which a lot of the kids that was in the magnet programs transitioned over to those public schools as well, more for a sports basis. But with that being said, it's just one of those things that is funny to me that as life continues, we continue to make more excuses for parents than holding parents accountable. We all know our situations when we are about to have children. I'm a perfect example. I'm not talking about anything that I haven't been through. I got my mother of my child pregnant when we were 17, going on 18 years old in our senior year of high school. At that point, my father told me, hey, son, time to put up them sports. You're going to find you something to do. Got to get your job. You got to take care of your kid. So at that moment, I remember this white guy who walked into my literature class my junior year talking about you can travel the world, you can get your kids medical paid for it. If you get married, your spouse stuff paid for. You can go to school for free. I went to that guy's office. His name was Technical Sergeant Knocking. And I went to knocking on that door, joined the Air Force. Took me less than a week to join the Air Force. Took my ASVAB, passed the test, wanted to be a cop at the time. Didn't really understand what that pertained, but he was like, hey, cool, gotcha. Went into the cop career field. Make a long story short, was married for almost a decade. I have a beautiful daughter now who's about to be 21, so it all worked out. With that being said, I could have easily been a product of my environment. I could have easily just had a baby mama, had a pregnant. We would have just dealt with life the way we dealt with it, never made a responsible choice to go make a decision that was not going to only benefit me, but benefit my future family at the time. With that being said, it all came from, having a strong father. My father was there. He told me, hey, you gotta take care of your child. There's no excuse there. With that being said, I highly encourage us as the Black community, because that's what they're speaking on. I highly encourage us as the Black community to start taking our own self-accountability and understand that as parents, once you have a child that enters this earth, your excuses go out of the window. You are no longer fending for yourself, you're fending for a child. That right there should give you the willpower alone to do whatever you need to do. If you didn't have a desire to go to college, go to college. If you didn't have a desire to have a true career, go get you a career, because you're no longer taking care of yourself. And I'll chime back in a few, but I just want you to hear how people crash out and get all upset over things that we should be taking self-accountability for.
Like, let's be honest. They're just lazy. They don't talk to their kids. They don't read to their kids. A lot of them don't know how to read. It's lazy. And this is coming from a teacher. You can't keep blaming the school. You can't keep blaming the teachers. Y'all, the kids start off at home,
what do you teach?
and then they get dropped off at school for 8
go off a
hours.
lesson that they
What's
provide for
going
you,
on?
don't teach
Y'all have to
anything?
supplement y'all children's education, though.
Yeah.
It's not. It's y'all. It's the parenting. It's the households. It's the foundation. It's not marrying the man we have kids by. It's us. We can keep putting on other people.
I'm confused.
But we're not teaching our kids to
what I
read.
spoke on?
The states are seeing this, and they're building prisons around the fact that y'all are making excuses about how y'all don't have enough time to sit there for 20 minutes to read to y'all children. 20 minutes a day. That's it. You don't have 20 minutes to sit down and read. You're at work all day for 24 hours, and you can't spare 20 minutes for a child. Y'all priorities are messed up.
Well, and I would also like to ask you at the end of that too.
Or their schedule. When you sit here and say you work all day, if someone is working all day,
and pausing it there, because Molly made, like she said, parents are the supplemental to the education that their kids are receiving. With that being said, if you pay attention to that video that I showed in the intro of my video, that young girl who's probably no older than 3 years old was able to learn dance steps, claps, no music. That took more than 20 minutes. With that kid attention span, that definitely took more than 20 minutes. And I'm telling you, our priorities have shifted. I see it all the time when I'm on TikTok. There's mothers on there with their young kids, with their young daughters. They're more interested in making content, making money off their children, and their children are in the background struggling with education, struggling with being social, struggling in school environments. This is not nothing new, but we continue to perpetuate this same thing. We have to put energy where energy needs to be put, especially in the Black community.
I'm telling you, as a teacher, not all of those parents were at work. They was dropping their kids off. They was going home to go back to bed.
Now, did you hear me? As a teacher, but you want to know? You just said that's not the teacher's job.
One mic, Ava. Hold on. Janae,
you just said
it's not my job to raise your child. It's my job to supplement.
I didn't mention raising. Where are we getting that from? My question was, when I stated a lot of people are not in a position to assist their children. Like you just said, they can't read.
Then why are y'all having kids if y'all can't assist them? These are y'all children. These are y'all children y'all are putting off in the world. Why have kids that you can't take care of and you can't assist? And I'm not trying to like be loud with
but
you.
This is the thing.
This is a common issue. Here. And this is always the excuse. These are your kids at the end of the day. It's your child.
There's a solution.
It's not the teacher's child. The teacher didn't birth that baby.
Y'all, we gotta do one mic.
The kids are already here. So I agree.
So Rachel,
the kids are already here. I agree. But the kids are already
Y'all want
here.
the
So
teacher
now that
to
the
raise
kids are
them. That's my
here,
point.
as a teacher, do you not teach children to read?
But the problem
Yes,
is
but
that
you
teachers,
can also tell as a teacher that the parents ain't doing nothing at home.
it's
Them
not
kids
the
was at home
gotta do
during
your
COVID,
part.
and then they can't read when they go back to
I
school
agree with
because
you,
the
which is
parents
why
ain't
I
doing
made my
nothing.
statement earlier about what Brandon stated
That's
with him
right.
having the opportunity to have his mom assist him in reading and learning how to read.
That's
I just
normal. In some
explained
households, that's normal to read to your child. Do y'all understand that?
Yeah.
That's not a
very much
privilege.
so.
You
but
read
but
to your
Janae, you're
kids
asking for
because
a
No, they
that's what you
solution.
do.
The Black
Janae,
community
you're
want the
asking for a
government to
solution.
do
The kids are
everything for
here.
them.
The Black community want everybody to do everything for
Wait,
them but themselves.
let Brandon
That's
go,
right.
then Ava. Go ahead, Brandon, and then Ava.
Well, Janae, you brought up a really great point, right? So for the kids that can't read, that are already here, that don't have two parents in the household, but one of the things that I think we sometimes forget is that 40, 50 years ago, a lot of our ancestors couldn't read either, but they knew how to
That's
grow
right.
crops. They were able to create their own food. They were able to raise their own cattle. Something else we forget
That's
too is that
right.
my great grandfather, he wasn't very literate, but he was a brick mason.
Mine
My
too.
grandfather was a carpenter, so they had
But
trades,
what
they
does that
had
have to do with your
skills.
point about reading?
My I'm
They
giving a
couldn't
solution.
read because
If
it
they
wasn't
can't,
legal for them to read. They didn't want them
I'm just bringing up
educated.
Janae's point about, okay, the kids
They
are
didn't
here, they
choose
can't
to
read, they don't
not
got two
read.
parents.
Yo,
What's the
let Brandon
solution?
finish.
But
The
they
solution
still
is to create an environment that allows grown adults to be self-sufficient. If you teach a man how that he can make some money without necessarily have to sit down for 8 hours and look at a board or a smart screen and take an exam, I'm sure he's going to choose that route than being dusty. So if you could tell a grown man, hey, I want you to go and I want you to learn how to create things out of wood. It's going to take 2 years. You're going to be under apprenticeship. You're probably going to make only $20 an hour. But afterwards, after you reach 5 years, you're going to make 100, 120 making wood doors and selling it at Value City furniture stores. He'll be like, let me
For
get that
sure.
money.
And that's great. But what she was stating earlier was we were talking about children. Children are not in a position where they are learning trades. So when we're talking about they're creating more prisons based off of reading scores, we have to look at the kids. Kids are not in a position to be learning trades yet.
What do you mean
So
you got to
if
look at the kids? This
we're
is the
going to say
parents
that
that are raising them. What do you mean the
right,
kids?
because we
It's
were
the parents.
discussing kids. He mentioned that children can't read.
But
I'm
why
confused where
can't
y'all
they
are.
read?
We just talked about it because they're not exposed to reading at home. They're struggling
Why?
in school. Clearly,
Why?
teachers don't want to teach them to read.
Why?
The
We
teachers can't
understand
teach
Brandon,
kids
can
how
I
to
ask
read.
you a
problem, but
question?
why?
Yes.
That stat that you pulled up, what area or what school, where
Ohio.
was that stat
Northeast.
pulled from? Like what type of neighborhood?
Ohio Northeast predominantly it's inner city predominantly it's still predominantly white, but it has a huge African American population. And part of the reason why is because Akron is known as the rubber capital of the world. So during the auto industry, we sold tires and polymers, and we sold that to Detroit, and that's Detroit and other Midwest where they were putting assembling cars together. So, but after I think the auto industry crashed, I think somewhere between early 2000s, mid 2000s, all those industries went out of business. And so it used to be where you could work at what we call a factory called the Goodrich factory, and you could get paid like $60,000-$70,000 a year. And that was enough to support your entire family and buy a house cash.
Okay, what I'm asking is,
Yeah.
where did they pull that stat from? Was it a
school
inner
district board
city area? Was it a majority, impoverished area? Like, where did they pull that stat from?
So they pulled the.
So as you see there, Jazz is always very aggressive with how she feels, which is okay. With that being said, the young man starts talking about trades, and later on, Molly is going to start speaking about the property tax and how schools are actually funded, and why certain schools aren't provided certain things, especially when it comes to textbooks and things of that nature. With that being said, one of the things that I would challenge, especially our community, any teachers who are in the school districts where kids aren't receiving the same type of textbooks as other schools, I think that's something that needs to be addressed from a teacher level as well. Also, with that being said, there's so many ways to educate children today. We have so many schools that allow computers and laptops, even if it's something that the teacher has to pull up and put on the TV or projector screen. There's so much that you can do now as a class. I see so many teachers being innovative with providing songs for kids to remember things. I think we can put all these tactics into play for our children, our young men and young women to move forward. With though anybody who's been following my page, I'm very big on taking away the education system the way that it is now. I feel that like first grade through fifth, probably first through eighth, you continue to learn like your basic math, English, reading, science. At that point, when you get to high school should almost be like college. You'll take some of the core function classes, but your next 3 years should be you actually specializing in the things that you want to do. I know a lot of schools have career centers and things of that nature. If kids want to be welders, if they want to be painters, construct, like we should be really, really pushing trades, pushing them to be able to go do internships while they're in high school at hospitals if medical is the way they want to go. I think we're going to have to take away the approach of education as it is today, and we're going to have to move it forward and move it forward very quickly. Um, with that being said, if you guys are even paying attention to college, you think about it, majority of the people there are athletes these days, and they're getting NILs and they're leaving. They're there for the money, not even the education. So I think we really have to do something about this. But what I really wanted to talk about at the end of this video is that they're calling uh, there's a word going around called black fatigue, and you're starting to see a lot of black people post about this, but also a lot of white people post about this. People are starting to get very exhausted with the black and white conversation. It's becoming very overkill. I feel like we need to take more ownership of where we are today, what we can do to move forward. And I am going to do a video about the black fatigue. I have a reaction video that I'm going to be doing, but just keep your eye open for that. But this crashing out as black people because we feel like we're not getting our way and we feel like we're still in slavery, and it's taking a toll, man. But as I end every video, God loves you, which is most importantly. I love you. You're beautiful, and your boy's out. Let it go.